Let's take a look at some fan mail here. I'd lose this account if I express what I actually think about you for having this opinion. Animals are not mere automatons. This person called me a psychopath when I didn't agree with her about why ducklings imprint on inanimate objects. Years ago, Richard Dawkins tweeted something about animal suffering and I called it into question. These are some of the replies I got. That is literally the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. I can't believe you're still employed after this. Like, what? I would have to be heartless. This person just got like really emotional and said that I broke her heart. And they always make it sound like there's like something irredeemably wrong with you if you don't agree with them about animals. People are also unprofessional saying things like that. Or they try this, they call my qualifications into question, say that I'm out of my depth. But some people are more open-minded than that, like this person thanking me for one of my videos, saying real life is not a Disney movie full of talking animals. I've referenced this before, but the way I say it, I always get attacked. Yep. It's weird, right? How it's always the goody two-shoes, like especially the people who are so convinced that they're the good ones. Those are the ones who get the most aggressive. Who said it? Was it Milton Friedman who said, it's always the people who are most convinced that they're the good ones who do the most evil stuff? Like this kind of militant vegans. Anyway, why am I getting all this hate mail? Well, because my stance on animals is very unpopular. My stance on animals is basically that they're not conscious or sentient or whatever you want to call it, and they can't suffer. Now, I like to think I have a reasoned argument for this. And you can check, like I've done like about 24 videos on this at this point. You can check my other videos for that. But the point of this video is just to explain why people respond to such hate to that stance. And also do note that I used to have conventional views on animals growing up and like for most of my life. And then I was actually vegan for like 3 or 4 months out of concern for animals. And then I stopped being vegan because it didn't really work for me health-wise, went back to the conventional view. And then it was through changes in my epistemological views that I changed my stance on animals. But anyway, back to my fan mail. Basically, they always say the same things. They either throw insults at me, or they say like I said earlier, my qualifications don't extend to that, which they don't even know. They don't know what I went to school for, but they just assume that. But because they always say the same things, and I've addressed all their objections, objectively, I know that I actually know more than they do. Like objectively, I know that I'm not out of my depth on this topic. If I were, then they would have questions that I couldn't answer. They would have criticisms that I couldn't address. But I can address all of them because they always say the same things. I mean, like 99% of the time, they say the same things. Like I'm starting to kind of get why David Deutsch, who I'm getting much of this from, because like he doesn't think animals are sentient either. And it's in his book, at the Beginning of Infinity. Like if you know how to read it, you can tell it's in there. But he kind of hid it probably because he didn't want that onslaught of negativity from people. Like people would absolutely butcher him for it. Because like he's for a scientist, he's like terribly famous. So a lot more people see his stuff than my stuff. So of the percentage of the militant vegans that would see his videos, right, there'd be a lot of hate mail. I mean, I still think that he should be like brave and not care, but I also kind of get why, it makes sense that you wouldn't want to deal with all that hate. But anyway, also given all the hate that I receive, I figured I'd also address some of the concerns people have. So let's just assume that I'm right, and that animals really can suffer, just for the sake of argument, okay? Given that animals can suffer, does that mean we should make animal abuse legal? Does that mean animal abuse is moral? Does that mean it's okay? I don't think so. Okay, I just want to be clear about that. I think given the current cultural background, as self-contradictory as it is, because like a lot of people who think, like the vast majority, I think, of the people who think animals can suffer aren't vegan, right? Because if you think animals can suffer, why are you eating them? So like the vast majority of people don't even have a consistent stance on this. But regardless, the fact that the cultural background is self-contradictory doesn't mean that it's not there. Okay, so against the current cultural background, I think it would be a very, very bad idea indeed to legalize animal abuse. I think the moral value of an animal derives from the humans around it. So like you couldn't just go around abusing animals because it would traumatize people. That would be the problem with it. But I also think that all the things that have been completely normal for millennia, like pet ownership, slaughtering animals for food, using them as beasts of burden, using them as part of scientific research, all of these things that have recently come under attack from animal advocates, those should remain normal. And I do think they're right, and I do think they're moral. So I think they should remain legal. And if I see animals around me, then I will do what people conventionally expect me to do. I will treat their pets with respect, the same way I would treat all their other property with respect. And I wouldn't hurt animals except like mosquitoes or something. Or like if I saw pests, like if I saw cockroaches or bedbugs or rats in my apartment, I would call pest control. If someone were to abuse animals, I think that would be a very bad sign, especially because they probably do think that animals can suffer. So that means that they're purposely inflicting harm, or so they think, on another being. That is very concerning. And if they're willing to do that, then you have to worry that human victims might be next. So basically, I think where animal abuse is currently illegal it should not be legalized, and where it is currently legal, it should just remain legal, because usually when the government gets involved, things get worse, not better. But also, like I said, owning animals as pets or for food or like on a farm and for research, like all of that should remain legal. Like definitely keep that. That's all good. And the way we could move forward from here is like just through discourse, just talking about it, but treating animals, you know, in our everyday lives with respect. I think it's a very good sign when somebody is kind to animals, especially to the small helpless ones, and treats them with kindness and respect. I think that's a good sign. At the same time, I also don't think that like animals are like the greatest thing ever, or that they deserve our help just because they need it or because they're weak. And a lot of times they aren't actually that weak. They're much stronger than us. I also think pet ownership is overrated. Like pets can be a lot of work, and some of the pets aren't that fun. Like I see the look on people's faces that own dogs. Like I see people walking their dogs all the time. They don't look particularly happy about it. It's a lot of work. So I think people underestimate that stuff. Dogs, I think, aren't that great. Like they're kind of gross. They're not that smart. But I also don't hate animals. Like don't get me wrong, not at all. Like I love cats. Like half of my Instagram feed, probably more than half at this point, is just full of cats, because I think cats are awesome. Like I think they're graceful, physically. I think they're beautiful. So like I have a lot of respect for a lot of animals. Some other animals, like I said, dogs are like, not that great. But is society as a whole ready for like big changes in this regard? Definitely not. So anyway, that's more or less my stance on animals. Just talk to me, guys. Like you don't have to send me a hate mail.